we're going to talk about what to do when an employee is suspected of drug or alcohol impairment in your workplace. This is an uncomfortable situation for all involved, so it pays to know what to do before you have to do it to avoid mistakes. You may observe someone who seems impaired at work, or you may receive a report from another employee. The second situation is more likely, so let's assume that's what's happening in your workplace. Let's say you're the HR manager and you receive a tip that your employee, Bob, smells like marijuana and he's avoiding his coworkers. The first thing you'll want to do is find another witness. You'll want numerical superiority over Bob so he can't dispute your version of what happened during your interview. You'll want this witness to be another manager, preferably the manager Bob reports to. Now it's time to call Bob into your office. Start the conversation like this. Bob, we've called you in here today because another employee reported that you smell like marijuana and you're avoiding contact with your coworkers. Is there something you want to tell us? This is an open-ended question, in other words, one that doesn't call for a yes-no answer. Because if you simply ask Bob, are you high, he will say no. Believe me. Now, in a certain percentage of cases, the employee will confess to the suspected conduct, and at that point you can just move to discipline. In other words, if someone admits to drug use, do not bother with a drug test. Why? Two reasons. First, because you don't have to, and second, because tests are not foolproof. And yes, Bob could pass it. So don't test the person who confesses. Of course, in most cases, Bob will play dumb and answer that he has nothing he wants to get off his chest. At this point, you'll explain to Bob that he will be taken to a lab for a drug test. It's not uncommon for your employee to give you a litany of reasons why they shouldn't go, or better yet, why they'll test positive, even though they haven't been using drugs. I use hemp oil, I was at a concert with a lot of secondhand smoke, I rode to work in Cheech and Chong's van, etc. Be that as it may, tell Bob your policy dictates that he must submit to a drug test or lose his job, and then provide him with transportation. Is there ever a situation where you interview the employee and then determine not to test him or her? Yes, and if you need to take your co-manager aside and discuss the matter privately, that would be appropriate. But those are rare situations where there are no indicia of impairment whatsoever. In most cases, you'll err on the side of caution and test if there's even the slightest indication of impairment. Please call us when these situations arise, as we are more than happy to help.